Hello, intrepid viewers. I'm coming to you from the bush in Australia, and I was hoping to have as a backdrop this beautiful sacred mountain, etc. But as you probably know, it's been raining here for 4 months without let up. We've got colossal floods. I'm not in the flood zone. Don't worry about me. And I'm also on the top of a hill. But the floods are truly terrible. First of all, apology, mea culpa to Justice Breyer, because I was umming and ahhing in the last video what were his motivations, etc., about resigning. And as at least 250 of you pointed out, he had resigned earlier, and that made the space for Ketanji Brown Jackson. So he's one of the good guys. So I humbly apologise. Now, again, things are happening at a pace, mostly bad, but there are some good things in it. One of the good things is that a Florida court has slapped back at DeSantis on his abortion proposition. He'll no doubt take it higher and then hit the medieval SCOTUS, right? At least for now. But the really good news is Georgia, under Fani Willis, is that how you pronounce her name, Fani, I think, or something, have subpoenaed the following: Giuliani, Lindsey, Queen of Swords Graham, Eastman, Jenna Ellis, Kenneth Chesbrough, and Cleta Mitchell for their involvement with hassling Raffensperger to change the Georgia results. So they've actually been subpoenaed. So let's have a look. I'm going to keep them together rather than separating them. Keep them together. How's that going to look for them? Will they try and be the tough guys and tough it out and carry on and string it out for months and months? Or will they start to see what's happening and smell the roses and get on with it and appear? So let's have a look. This is the Georgia election subpoenas. The Georgia election subpoenas. The kangaroos around here, real live kangaroos. Oh, bless. Bless, bless, bless. Georgia subpoenas. Come on down. Oh, the world, I like that at the beginning. Oh. Right, so here we go. Oh, I'm actually working at a desk, and it's a foreign experience. I'm normally working in these little cloistered spaces. You can better believe the world is watching every thrust of this case, along with everything else, right? For sure. But it also is the end of a major cycle, let's hope a major cycle of bad behavior. But this is big, this is global, not just in terms of the world, but in terms of the US. What happens in this Georgia one will set the tone for all the other states that were badgered and stuff by the Yeti. So it's a very big card, very important card. Underlying that, the search for the truth and the sun. I am thrilled. If I stopped there, it'd be good and we could all go home. However, there's more to the story in this spread. But this is the thrust of what the Georgia legal eagles are trying to do. Speaking of which, this is the King of Swords. This could be the man in charge of the actual cases, or it can be Fani Willis herself, because we shouldn't get too hung up on gender with the court cards, right? Very strong legal person. Now, again, that'd be fine. But the last card is the Eight of Cups. Walking away, meaning they might not appear. Don't like it? I just don't like it. So I'm going to go for some clarifiers on what this is. Okay. because this could also be people walking away from them, right? Because this is what's happening. It's a circular firing squad in the GOP right now, right? So this could be people walking away from them. But let's just do a clarifier or two on this Eight of Cups, please. The Eight of Cups. What do we need to know about this Eight of Cups? Eight of Cups. Yeah. Oh, these cards are upside down. They're not actually reversed. I've got the pack upside down. All right. So here, this is what I think is happening. They're ailing and they're losing power. They're not well. They're really not well, right? And the merchant coming in. I think this is promises will pay your legal fees. Have we heard this before, intrepid viewers? Don't worry about it. You want a pardon? Not a problem. Legal fees, not a problem. And then it doesn't translate on the ground, as any proud boy could tell you. Okay, so I think this is them being bullied into walking away with promises of financial help. But the real problem is they are ailing. Okay, so it's Georgia. Now, I've been asked to read on Patrick Leahy. I don't know how you pronounce it in America, but I live with a Leahy, and that's how they pronounce it. It's the Irish can correct me if it's not exactly right. So Patrick Leahy is the Democratic senator for Vermont. He's 81. I'm sorry, possums. We've got to stop these geriatrics. I'm sorry. I'm not a spring chicken, but I know my limitations. These people should be mentoring the bright young things coming up behind. The Dems have a hugely fabulous second tier. You know, they've got the Katie Porters, they've got the Pete Buttigiegs, they've got the Betos, they've got them all. Let them, AOC, let them off the leash. Connor Lamb, let them go. Young people are much more likely to vote with someone who's at least their parents' age, not their grandparents' age. You know, so he's 81, he's just broken his hip, hopefully not fatal. And so what does this mean? Because until he comes back, they can't actually vote. So Patrick Leahy's health. Patrick Leahy's health. Oops. Patrick Leahy's health. Patrick Leahy's health. All right. There's the devil card, Ace of Pentacles. Look, he does have the devil card here. And to a certain extent, I think this is representing what his ill health means to the Senate at the moment. That's what I think that's about. But the first card out was women celebrating. Then we've got a nice fresh ace, Pentacles. Even as professional readers, we see Pentacles and we think money. But it's also about the body. Pentacles are ruled by earth, and it's about the body. And this is the hand of God. So I'm taking this as a positive, right? He'll come through and rule again another day. So let's hope that is the case. So blessings, blessings. But these people have to take themselves out of the running. You know, we can talk about this more on the other side of November because we're stuck with everybody till November. But after that, I'm sorry, the Pelosi's, even the Biden, need to make way for the young ones. Right, okay. So, I just read this morning, there's the real estate firm Cushman and Wakefield, and they did all the appraisals for the Trump properties. So they're in the crosshairs for the New York cases, right? How come you valued this one at that and the same property as this, depending whether it was for tax purposes or other more nefarious things? So they're being fined, as of today, $10,000 a day for not presenting the documents that have been requested. And that makes you think, what's in the documents? All right. So that's what, 100,000 every 10 days. In 3 months, that's $1 million, and so it goes on. So are they going to comply or not? Cushman and Wakefield, New York, are they going to comply or pay the fine? Are they going to comply? Cushman and Wakefield. Let's have a look. Well, this is funny, really. Now, this is the card, the 9 of Pentacles representing them, a very affluent, successful firm. It's been around for a very long time. They're an established organization and they're very comfortable. Thank you. In the past position, the same 8 of Cups, this is them refusing, turning their back on requests for the documents. Now they're being fined actively. They're having to rethink that. Will we go this way or that way? Will we continue to hold out, or will we turn around to Trump Org and say, I'm sorry, we've got to submit the documents? They're very reluctant, I think it's fair to say, because it's inevitably going to make them look bad. Okay, so they're heavily invested in not handing over these documents. But the Queen of Wands, whether this is Letitia James or another powerful woman who's handling this aspect of the case, because you can imagine there'd be wall-to-wall attorneys and prosecutors in all this. This is a chief prosecutor coming out, is going to pressure them. Okay. So not a decided outcome, but what this has done is force their hand. And what they'll do, I think, this is Lena speaking, not the cards, much like Deutsche Bank, when Deutsche Bank were finally exposed for their treacherous doings with Jared and Trump and everywhere else, they will blame the person who was dealing with them, not the whole company, to save the company. You watch. If they go ahead, they will then say, oh, you know, that was Gerald Smith, nothing to do with us. We didn't know. We're a very big organization. We didn't know what Gerald was doing. You know, it'll be that sort of crapola. Okay. Now, before we go on, what about the pregnant 10-year-old? Where was she? Ohio, I think. Look, how these people live with themselves, you know? It's all right for a 10-year-old to carry the rapist baby, but, you know, these same people who don't want to wear masks, that's against my civil liberties, you know. But look, you've got to have faith in your own country at this point. Let me stop right here. You have to keep the faith, America, because this awful stuff that's streaming down, this torrent of drama, chaos, and really repressive stuff that is tumbling down on your heads. You are at a turning point in history. Are you going to stand up and be part of what's right and have that legacy, or curl up in a corner going, it's all too much? I understand the fetal position. I do. I really understand it. But as individuals, you've got to find your way through that crushing repression and go, have confidence in the principle. There are more of us, that is, people who aren't clinically insane and are members of cults. There are more sane Americans than insane Americans, if nothing else. It's a simple equation. And so you must hold it together, be strong, and be part of the positive change. And I really feel if America turns out in November, it'll be a turning point and the country will be more amazing than ever. In 5 to 10 years, can go green, can be a different place altogether. But if you allow that pressure in on your heads and wringing of hands and it's all too much, it's not helpful. So look after yourselves, right? Look after yourselves, pace yourself, be part of the change. Okay, now, I've also been asked about Jim Jordan, one of the least attractive people in the universe. I think I've said before, we all went to school with a Jim Jordan, didn't we? Oh, look. And I went to school with 1,500 Boberts and Marjorie Taylor Greens. I come from a redneck state, 1,500 kids in school, and they were like that, except 5. There were 5 of us out of 1,500 who were different. So I'm used to being against the odds, right? And you can prevail. Okay, let me give the cards a good split. And we'll look at this epoxy testosterone-ridden primate. No abuse to gorillas, but really. Okay, the Neanderthal, Jim Jordan. All right. Oh, this is the card today. I've been shuffling and shuffling and shuffling and shuffling and shuffling and shuffling and shuffling. Queen of Cups. Oh, the world again. All right. Underneath it, because he's like a lot of bullies, he's used to getting away with things. This is not the 7 of Swords getting away with things, but he's used to being able to walk away when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Ooh, but that's underneath it. What he's up against is the Queen of Cups. And I think what he's up against actually is not just the women of America, it's everything that's represented in the feminine principle. That's nurturing. So that's good dads, right? That's why a lot of older men are not happy with the rolling back of Roe versus Wade, right? And so forth. This is all the good men as well as the intuitive, in-touch women. He's come to the end of a very big cycle, which is, I think, being, you know, his political life. I really think it's the end of his political life. Here he gets the Page of Pentacles. This is news about money. So he's a truly vile and ghastly person. But not surprisingly, there's also some money here that isn't quite accounted for. And because it's a page bringing that message, I think it's from back in the day when he was younger. There's something that could bring him undone, because those dreadful allegations over the abusive wrestling coach and so forth, when he turned his back, that's a case in point, on those young men. And it doesn't take much imagination to realize how much harder it is. It's hard for any abuse survivor to speak up, but for young men, it comes with another complex array of things as an assault on their masculinity and everything else. So these are not devastating cards, mind you. They're not devastating. I think with the World card being the end, it's going to be a series of things that bring an end to Jim Jordan. It's not just one catastrophic scandal. Okay, it'll be a few things. Now, I hope you caught up with this, but you may have missed it. You know what it's like? There's an avalanche of things every time you open your news feed. You know, let me have a sip of coffee, intrepid ones. You know. Now, a few days ago, Arizona, came up with a brilliant idea. Brilliant. Awesome. To give every household with children $7,000 a year to take their children out of public education and educate them. This is code for paying church schooling. In other words, the madrasas of America, the religious schools of America, the Taliban schools, right? Now, they want it to be rolled out across all the red states. Now, this is diabolical, absolutely diabolical, because what happens is middle-class people realize that raising children and getting them to college costs an absolute fortune. The solid working class, who is also aspirational, realizes that how much it costs to raise a child, which is also why this abortion stuff is so stupid. It's not just, you know, the first 6 months and how much for the nappies and the baby formula. It's a lifelong thing. They realize, so the sensible together parents won't be swayed by this. It's the cultists and the dysfunctional families that think $7,000 will do it, and you don't have to be dysfunctional to think that. Don't forget, the statistic is that I think it's 40% of Americans do not have $400 in savings. That's nearly half the country. So $7,000 represents a tantalizing amount. Now, while some might take this and use it wisely and well, they might homeschool and follow a curriculum and do all the right things. There are many who won't, just wanting the money. You have abusive partners who pressure the mothers, get the $7,000 and then I'm going to get a new car. You know what I mean? In Australia, there was a $5,000 baby bonus at one point, which again sounds good when you say it quickly. But what happened was what was called the plasma babies, because it cost $5,000 for a huge plasma TV, and it was sort of a sick joke in a way. So this is very disturbing because it's actually undermining the public education system, and that's very important. And I'll do a dedicated video to the pillars of democracy next, I think. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Stop raving, Lena. Arizona's offering $7,000 to take your kids out of school. Okay. Awesome. Oops, what fell out? The unwanted offer. No one went to the government saying, why don't you give us this money and we'll take our kids out of school? They've invented this. This is an ideological leg of everything that's twisted and mutant and savage and primitive about the SCOTUS ideology. This is the unwanted offer. Doesn't mean the money's unwanted, but the whole offer didn't come from the people or the parents. Oh, sorry, let me bring you down. That fell out. So, oh, now I've got these cards upside down. Lena, get your act together. Okay. Well, here's the thing. Underneath this offer, this is women saying, oh, that'd be great. I'm not liking this. Don't like it at all, right? Because if the women are convinced it's a good idea, then the men will follow. I was expecting almost the other way around, the men to think it's a good idea, like the Australian experience. But this is women thinking, oh, they actually cannot conceive of what a country's like without public education. This is in the past. It was all right. You know, the country still goes on. MAGA thinks America's great as it is and how they're shaping it. They think that's good, right? So this is a twisted version of the sun, if you like. It'll be all right, it'll be all right. If you have an uneducated population, the country will spiral into a third world backwater. Guaranteed, because this is part of the delusion. They can't see because the sun's in their eyes. There will be considerable debate about this. God knows when, because there's so much else going on. I don't know when anyone's even going to notice it's been mooted, right? So, but there will be an argument. This is a great idea. This is a terrible idea. This is a great idea. This is a shocking concept, right? This is a circular argument. I think short term they're going to win, funnily enough. This is the impulsive night, the night of revenge. So it's like revenge on their own country. Into the headwinds, off they go. But this is short-term outcome. This stuff all needs to be revisited. But with this card in the outcome position, if women think this is a good idea, and you can see how many women would think, oh, that's $7,000 I didn't have before, you know. Now, if you think about how it was educating children online during COVID, how difficult that was for families. We can all point to half a dozen families where very committed parents, you know, did the right thing and all of that, and their children may even have excelled because they were perhaps not being bullied at school or something like that. There are positive cases, but the majority of cases, it's massively stressful. And by and large, it's not the dads doing it, it's the mums, right? So I think this is one of those false diamonds. You know, it's a fake diamond. Oh, it's not even a well-cut sapphire, you know. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. All right, now, sorry, I'm just doubling back to the 10-year-old pregnant girl. Someone pointed out in the comments, thank you guys, I love your comments, that cruel and unusual punishment is actually banned by the 8th Amendment. This is an interesting concept. Now, it was obviously designed around what happens in jails and things like that. And you guys still have the death penalty in many states, and the rest of the first world finds that totally barbaric. Most of us did away with it 60 years ago, let alone how it's done. So the point I wanted to make about that was, can this 8th Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment, be applied to making women have been forced to give birth? Can this 8th Amendment be applied? The problem is, of course, with anything we ask is, as long as this SCOTUS is functioning like it is, the country is in very muddy waters. The water is actually up to your chins. You're breathing through a straw at this point to save the country. And SCOTUS has to be changed. Broadened, have to drown out their voices. But for now, I want to know if there's any mileage in this idea of the 8th Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment. It's punishment for a young girl. You know, you might have a 15-year-old who's got the 17-year-old boyfriend, and whoops, she's pregnant. I mean, you know, it needn't be rape. It needn't be as such. She might be underage, but she's old enough to get married, so that's awesome. So 8th Amendment, can it be applied? Can it be applied in terms of women's reproduction? It's an interesting question. Let us see. Well, I'd say from these, not impossible. Okay. In the center, we have the beloved High Priestess. Now, that I say to my students all the time, when you do a lot of political readings, all the cards have taken on more sinister and awful connotations because you're dealing with such truly disgusting impersonations of humans, right? And so the cards have taken on all these negative things, and I drill the students in, these are the conventional meanings. So I'm going back to the conventional. This is all the positive things about women's knowledge through the millennia. This predates patriarchy. Predates patriarchy, right? Now, this is all the good things about the High Priestess. She also, in the political context, hidden agendas. But I'm going here for her more orthodox interpretation. She's at the center of this because with these repressive laws, women don't stop terminating pregnancies. They just do them in a more high-risk environment, and women have always had to deal with this. This underneath is the theft of women's rights. And it's happened very quickly because the SCOTUS, what's the plural of SCOTUS? The SCOTUS have lied at their confirmations, blatantly, on the record, lied, and it's happened very, very quickly. My question about the Eighth Amendment, it could get as far as a court case here. We have the King of Swords. And looking for overseas precedents for this. Law rests on precedents. Right. So this is waiting for the ship to come in, but it's also looking out over the waters, looking further afield, outside of America. Yes, there is a world outside America. I just want to point that out. Yes. Okay, and it's looking to that. That's the legal people, not SCOTUS. The legal people are looking, did any other country do this? Is there any way we can use a precedent somewhere else and foster it here? So I'd say there's a whisper of a chance here. You know, it's not going to be a sweeping thing, but it could happen. Now, let me just say, oh yes, Lindsey Graham came up just before because he's been subpoenaed and he should have known better. He's an old player. So I'm just going to do a little four-carder quickly on Lindsey Graham. While I'm shuffling, intrepid viewers, I'm opening up the books again for readings. So if you want a reading, there's two types. There's a general reading, which is love, life, what am I doing in the universe, money, complicated in-laws, you know, family dynamics, everything in the normal range of questions. You know, I'm retiring, what's going to happen, etc., etc. Should I move to Mexico, which is quite a common question I get. Yes, that's a general reading. Any of those things, your call. You can come with all your questions. Or there is the general plus past life readings. So you get to get 3 or 4 of your general questions in, and then a past life reading. So I'll put my email up on this video. Okay, but we're having a quick look here. Quick look. Lindsey Graham. Oh, Lindsey. Oh, I like that. This is very, very interesting. Okay. Here's the thing. My Biden card, King of Cups. My Yeti card, the Emperor. And he's in the middle. Doesn't want to be in the middle. Too late, Lindsey. Do I have any sympathy? Zero, zilch, nada, nothing. You put yourself in this position. What's his problem? the money he took from outside sources, and it was a lot of money. It was a lot of money. So now he's caught between knowing he's done the wrong thing, Biden as the head of the real America, and the Yeti, who's the head of his own boardroom, only because the Trumps have never actually worked for real companies. So, he's the CEO of his own mini universe. Well, there you have it. So, yes. Oh, can't go yet. Sarah Matthews, is that her name? Sarah Matthews. She was the deputy communications person and resigned after January 6th. She is going to testify. Let's hope it's another Cassidy Hutchinson. Is that no Cassidy Hutchinson? So I have to look at Sarah Matthews. What's her testimony going to bring? Oh, 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 oh. Oh my God, I nearly forgot her. This is really important. Sarah Matthews. Cassidy Hutchinson, she will be written up in the history books of doing the right thing. But I really hope she's learnt something through this. She worked for Ted Cruz, then made her way up this greasy pole to Mark Meadows, was a Trump devotee. She has a lot of reinvention to do. So she's made a really good start with that testimony. Bless her for that. But I want to see her in the future on The View and every other program in the universe saying, how wrong was I? That's what I'd like to see. Nothing less will do, Cassidy. 25, you're young enough to reinvent yourself. Okay, back to Sarah Matthews. Deputy Press Secretary, Sarah Matthews. The first card that fell out, right, bear in mind, Knight of Swords. What else have we got for Sarah Matthews? Oh, okay, I'm liking this. There's that old saying, there is no fury like a woman scorned. She's been scorned and perhaps scorched behind the scenes. They're not shy about witness tampering, etc. So this is the card of revenge she might be taking on them. I really, really hope so. She's comparatively fearless, again, going into the headwinds. Her motivation, I'm pleased to report, is the real America. Okay, the star, hope, inspiration, all the good things that America represents. Because these young things, they think they're in the heartland of America, and they're actually in the armpit of these Neanderthals that want her and every other woman to go back, I hope they're waking up. So that's a fabulous card for her. She's going to have information from quite far afield, further than we might expect. I'm very interested. Hierophant, she's there to restore order. This is the J6 committee, the Hierophant. Okay. I'm loving that and loving you. So guys, before I go, I'll just go out on the porch, and with a bit of luck, I may be able to show you a bit of bush and mountain. Let's see what we can see. Oh, it stopped raining for 3 minutes, so that's something to celebrate. All right. So this is the Australian bush, and that's, where is the mountain? This mountain is a sacred Aboriginal mountain, the Mother Mountain, the sacred mother. So there you go. Sorry there weren't any kangaroos for you. And we'll take it from there. So lots of love and bye for now. Besitos. Ciao.